If you want to know if someone is liked in the industry, look at the way people talk about them.
I had dinner with Meghan Markle the other night, and she had just gotten back from the palace. I didn't talk to her really more than to say a couple words, but I know she was talking about it.
Or the way people dodge their hellos and avoid standing next to them. Meghan Markle had an eventful week as usual, whether it's getting shaded by Martha Stewart or snubbed by David Foster. She is determined to still believe that, despite it all, she is still the main character.
See how much my husband loves bagpipes.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Scandalous Media. It's Angela here, and the people requested more Meghan Markle and Prince Harry videos, and so more Meghan and Harry videos you shall get. There's so much juicy tea to jump straight into, so if you enjoy these type of videos, be sure to like and subscribe for new videos every single week. Turn on those post notifications so you don't miss the live chat premiere we do for every single video, and follow us on our social media. Also, a lot of you guys have been telling me that YouTube isn't showing you my videos, and you're missing the scandalous tea, so if that's the case, be sure to hit that hype button because that helps us fight against the algorithm. And without further ado, let's get straight to exposing. Main character syndrome and getting snubbed. Meghan and Harry flew out to Canada to attend the David Foster Foundation's 40th anniversary celebration gala on August 7th. Watch as David Foster snubs Meghan, who extends her arm out to him. He doesn't even look at her and she looks embarrassed, so she looks down the entire time he's passing by her. Meghan is directing the traffic as usual, even though I'm pretty sure everyone is well aware of where to go. It also goes to show you Meghan always thinks she's the main star, even though the host literally snubbed her in front of everyone and it's his event. This is just one of Meghan's little gestures where she tries to give herself a role, kind of like at Kevin Costner's charity event when she was trying to hijack the mic from the woman, or when Meghan picked up the award to hand to Harry to give to Kevin. And the entire time, she's also directing Harry with that little arm movement to show him the only possible direction to move in. It's a power play that Meghan does constantly in public settings, these tiny gestures that allow her to assume a position of authority even when nobody actually gave her one. And psychologically, there is something called status signaling, where people use these subtle nonverbal behaviors, gestures, positioning, directing others, to communicate their perceived rank or importance within a group. It doesn't necessarily mean the person is consciously thinking, I need to be in charge, but in Meghan's case, it's interesting how often we see this same pattern. Directing Harry, directing other people, handing things off, ushering people around, essentially giving herself a job in moments where she doesn't actually have one, nor does she need one. She actually looks pretty angry right here as she diverts to fixing her dress, moving closer to Harry, and smiling at David's wife, Catherine McPhee, who, surprise surprise, Meghan actually knew from childhood, but I'll get to that later. David Foster didn't seem interested in even saying hello to Meghan, leaving a gap in between them for his wife Catherine to stand, and once the wives are in the middle, Harry gets his attention by talking to him from behind. At this point, Meghan looks like she's trying to lock in and get straight into character, but her smile looks forced as she can't help but figure out what's going on behind her, what she's missing out on, and why the hell did David snub her in front of everyone. And that's when she turns to Harry, smiles, and lets out a big laugh. Everyone ends up laughing at whatever Harry said, but of course, Meghan gets straight into her usual laughing pose where she bulges her head out a bit and holds that laugh for a second so we can get these usual laughing pics on the red carpet. After this video picked up some traction on socials, it wasn't a crazy thing like past Meghan snubs, and yet the publicists were on speed dial. As predicted, David Foster gave an exclusive statement to no one else but People magazine. The headline read, "No, David Foster did not snub dear friend Meghan Markle on the red carpet at charity event, exclusive." In a statement shared exclusively with People magazine, David Foster said, "As the host of the David Foster and Friends Foundation event, I had already greeted our friends, the Duke and Duchess, at the entrance 10 minutes before the red carpet encounter. They both graciously and selflessly gave their time and went beyond to engage with everyone. Harry and Meghan are dear friends of mine. Anyone watching can see there was no awkward moment and certainly no snub." He's saying graciously and selflessly, as if Meghan and Harry have a packed agenda and aren't twiddling their thumbs half the time, hoping an invitation blossoms so they can finally be included in something. He continues, "It's sad that certain media chose to deceive a red carpet encounter for clickbait. They turned simple positioning to get the best photo into a hurtful lie." When I first saw the video and I started working on this video, it was actually before the media caught on. The media caught on because of all the comments on social media pointing out how awkward it was, and therefore the media commented on what was already trending. I just think it's funny that Meghan summoned a 76-year-old man to give this statement because I highly doubt that he was aware of anything that was going on, but unlike him, this is a pattern for Meghan. Dr. Sophie Chanduka also revealed that Meghan and Harry practically bullied her, trying to make her give out a statement in defense of Meghan after Meghan rudely didn't let her pose next to Harry at the center Sensibali event where Dr. Chanduka is the chairwoman of. Dr. Chanduka refused, saying that the statement would cause more issues and that Sensibali is a charity, not an extension of Harry and Meghan's personal brand. AKA, girl, we are not your fan club and definitely not your PR reps. And where are we now with that? Alright, Harry alongside others are facing serious allegations of bullying, harassment, misogyny, and he's being sued for defamation. So forgive me when people who are up to date with Harry and Meghan's shenanigans can easily see through forced PR statements like this one and the clear discomfort shown on the carpet and later on in the event. We don't need to wait for a harassment suit to come along for us to believe what's right in front of our eyes. Just this photo alone sheds some light on the dynamic between the couples. Later on, both couples are photographed chatting and Meghan is staring David down, locked in on him with that aggressive, almost anticipatory smile she does, where she stares someone down, seemingly waiting for them to finally look her way so she can immediately jump into the interaction. And judging by how David's body is completely turned toward Harry, who isn't even putting on some huge animated smile, which tells us that the conversation probably doesn't warrant the expression that Meghan is holding on her face. Meanwhile, Meghan has her arm planted on Harry while practically hovering at the edge of the conversation, almost like she's trying to signal, "Hello, bring me in." It's all very telling. David Foster does not look like he wants Meghan Markle near him. But here's another interesting photo where you can see Catherine visible. It appears that Catherine was talking to Meghan, who's looking at David and Harry chatting. The next picture is where Meghan moves in on Harry with that smile locked in on David, and who's that in between David and Meghan? Well, it looks like Catherine. Because there is no video and it's only these pictures, there's not much more context to these photos, but it really looks like Meghan stepped in front of Catherine to try to establish dominance and fight for a crumb of attention from David, who seems hell-bent on not giving it to her. And on the carpet, David only posed with Harry in a duo shot, while Meghan posed with Catherine. Harry and Meghan also posed together. Meghan brought out all the poses, hand on chest, hand by her side, and Harry just stood there like the standing emoji. She also wore Diana's famous sapphire butterfly earrings, so the media was running a lot with that. Meghan posted this selfie of her and Harry on her Instagram, as well as this video of them greeting performers backstage. Now, it never fails to make me laugh how Meghan acts like everyone is there for her. As Martha Stewart will later elaborate, this shift of working royal to celebrity, to faux chef, to pretend royal is difficult to emulate because while it makes sense for the real royals to be followed around with cameras documenting their every move, it makes absolutely no sense when you're a guest at a gala that arguably the host doesn't want you at. It's a little awkward for an assistant to be filming you so you can post it on your Instagram later, and no matter how hard she tries to pretend like it's a candid shot by starting off the video of her in the middle of a sentence,
Yeah, how much my husband loves bagpipes.
it's still coming off as staged as she makes eye contact with the assistant here and goes back to performing this little coy, shy act, kind of like she's in awe with everyone lined up backstage, even though this is literally not her event.
Oh my gosh.
This is great.
Harry then makes a joke about where his bagpipes and drums are,
So where mine?
and everyone starts laughing, and I swear you could hear Meghan say, "Thanks everyone here." The video continues with Meghan and Harry being greeted. Actually, Meghan cuts the video after she gets greeted only, which feels intentional because it is the Meghan show after all. Posting videos like this yourself will always be cringe because it's as if a celebrity is posting their own fan edits or paparazzi catching them on the street strutting. In the case of Meghan, she has to post them because no one else will. Like this video she posted on her story where she's sneakily showing the table and plate in front of her, and then she pans to Harry, who gives this little awkward smile before turning the camera back to the table. And Meghan always films these events like she's never been invited anywhere before. She's constantly collecting B-roll, the table, the plate, the centerpiece, Harry sitting there, the entertainment. And I think this is part of a bigger conversation, mainly because we saw this firsthand in their Netflix soap opera, where she didn't get along with any of the directors when it came to filming her, insisting that she had to provide all the footage, and that's how we ended up with several vertical clips and videos that she was behind, including her own proposal. And that's what always gets me with Meghan. For someone whose entire brand for years was basically, please respect my privacy, she has this incredible instinct to document the exact moments most people would consider private. It's almost like there's always a little archive being built in the background, just in case the footage becomes useful later. Meghan was also seen jamming and dancing along to Adam Levine, singing while Harry sat next to her. Two other women were dancing in front of her as well, but Meghan she just cracks me up because she always wants to give this effortless, carefree, lost in the moment energy, but somehow even her spontaneous moments feel extremely composed. And listen, maybe that's genuinely just how she dances, but Meghan has this incredible ability to make "I didn't even know anyone was watching me" look like a scene that somehow already made it through 3 rounds of creative direction. You know what also looks like it requires creative direction? The way Meghan and Harry are able to discard, but then pick people up when it's beneficial. And this brings me to the story that the Fosters are longtime friends of Meghan and Harry's, and how it likely leads to David's annoyance with the Markles. Time to be besties. I always find it interesting when a childhood friend of Meghan's finally appears in her life when it's time for Meghan to use them. Kinda like how Meghan popped up in the picture with Courtney Adamo, who released her book and suddenly Meghan was right there, ready to fix her microphone, and even offered to talk to her.
Well, we've been friends since college, just so you know.
Yeah, it's really an honor to be here and to be chatting about our book. Oh, sorry. This makes me nervous.
I can hold it for you also.
Or the fact that Tyler Perry wrote Meghan a letter before the wedding, but Meghan never responded until she called him while feeling distressed, conveniently starting a friendship that led him to loan them his California mansion in 2020. Yet Courtney and Tyler were never invited to the wedding nor called up until they proved themselves as valuable. And such is the story with the Fosters. So Catherine and Meghan both attended Immaculate Heart High School in Los Angeles, but Catherine was in middle school while Meghan was in high school with Catherine's older sister, Adriana. They grew up performing in the same community musical theater productions, including one called Yankee Doodle. Catherine said, "I did a couple of shows with her and she was always put together and great. I was never really close friends with her." They ran into each other for the first time at We Day in 2019 when Harry surprised the crowd by dragging a heavily pregnant Meghan on stage. Catherine later told the Evening Standard that she was lovely and she remembered me. She remembered my sister more specifically because they were in the same class. And Meghan told her, "I'm just waiting around, waiting for the baby to come." Catherine said they posed for a photo together, but she hasn't been able to get it since the royals have to approve everything. She also admitted that she initially hesitated to post that childhood photo of her and Meghan because she didn't want people to think that she was being opportunistic or trying to capitalize on their connection. But Catherine was starring in Waitress in London at the time, so she said that she would love to invite Meghan to come see the show. Meghan never attended the show. But the timing here is very interesting because by the end of 2019, Harry and Meghan announced that they were taking this 6-week sabbatical from royal duties and disappeared to Canada. And guess who helped make that possible? David Foster. David personally connected them with a friend who owned this massive waterfront mansion on Vancouver Island, giving Harry and Meghan a secluded place to stay during the exact period immediately preceding Megxit. Meghan, of course, had her reps spilling the deets to Us Weekly, with a source telling them, "Catherine has become a trusted friend to Meghan. They weren't exceptionally close as teenagers. Meghan was older. At a very vulnerable time, leaving essentially the royal family, Catherine and David stepped in and were able to give them security and arranged for a lovely home for them to temporarily live in." Suddenly, people are of use when they can promote the lie that the royal family left you on the streets of Britain and you needed a multi-million-dollar mansion to bear the wound, huh? While publicly this was being presented as Meghan and Harry taking some much needed time away to reset as a family, they were secretly making Hollywood deals like the Oprah interview before Archie was even born, and the fact that months earlier, Harry had been caught on camera at the Lion King premiere pitching Meghan's voiceover abilities directly to Disney CEO Bob Iger, and Meghan reportedly recorded her eventual Disney elephant voiceover before they even left for their Canadian break. And David's usefulness didn't exactly end with the house. By May 2020, Catherine was publicly describing David and Harry's relationship as being like father and son. Suddenly, headlines were running with David Foster essentially becoming Harry's Hollywood father figure. At the same time, Harry's relationship with his actual father, King Charles, was becoming one of the biggest stories surrounding Megxit. Then, once Harry and Meghan were established in California, the couples were photographed going on a 3-hour double date at Lucky's Steakhouse in Montecito. I wonder who alerted the paparazzi to these obviously staged pictures. This is also fascinating to me because Meghan reconnects with an old school acquaintance who just so happens to be married to one of the most powerful and connected producers in Hollywood, and within months, David Foster is helping Meghan and Harry secure a private Canadian hideaway as they prepare for an entirely new life outside the royal family. And maybe it's completely innocent. Maybe Catherine and Meghan reconnected, the husbands hit it off, and David was simply generous enough to help. But when you look at the timeline, this friendship became extremely useful to Harry and Meghan extremely quickly. A private mansion when they needed somewhere to disappear, a major Hollywood connection when they were preparing to enter the entertainment industry, and eventually, even a shiny new father figure narrative for Harry. And yet, when Meghan was popular and relevant during those 72 days as a working royal, she seemingly had no interest in letting these old connections into her shiny new royal circle. But the second that royal circle disappeared, suddenly, all those people from her past became very useful people to know. I've gotten the vibe from Meghan that she's the type not to associate with anyone she used to know, especially during her working royal days, because she believed that everyone was using her. Maybe that's an insecurity she had, because people become particularly suspicious of opportunism when you understand exactly how useful connections can be. Because Meghan seemed to have this inflated idea of what her royal status was going to translate to outside of the monarchy, how much influence she had, how much Hollywood wanted her, and ultimately what she was capable of building on her own. And I think the years since have shown that things didn't exactly go according to plan, which is why the Catherine situation is interesting to me. Meghan didn't go see Waitress. She seemingly didn't rush to rekindle this childhood connection while she was a working royal. It's after they leave, after Oprah, Netflix, the family feuds, the public fallout, and their transition into Hollywood that some of these previously dormant connections suddenly start becoming a lot more relevant. And now you can clock back into them because there's always a built-in explanation. Well, I've known Catherine since childhood. Tyler Perry wrote me a letter before the wedding. And yes, that is true. But when did these people actually get your attention, Meghan? Exactly. So my theory is, like most of the people who took a bet on Meghan and Harry and gave them a chance, they got let down by the obvious grifter act. It's also unclear who paid for their security and trip accommodations, but it's interesting how there's never a big fuss about traveling anywhere unless it's in the UK when they're trying to elicit money from the royal family and the people to pay for their security. Like I said in my recent video, leading up to their UK trip and meeting with King Charles, there was so much media fuss about Meghan and the kids are coming, scratch that, they're not coming because of security's not being provided, and blah 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 blah. It was all that plagued the media leading up to their trip, because if you know Meghan and Harry, you know they can't do anything without a security pity party before it. They did the same thing ahead of their Australia trip too. It's exhausting because you can't get through a trip of theirs without their security woes and yapping to the media. But this time, they're going to a little fancy gala to pretend play as elite celebrities, so did they whine and cry to the media about their security? No. The gala reportedly raised a massive $14.5 million, but I couldn't find any reporting that Harry or Meghan personally donated, pledged money, or purchased anything at the auction. The foundation advertised Friday VIP seats at $5,000 each, while a two-person VIP weekend package was $20,000. Again, I wonder if Meghan and Harry purchased those seats, or did they personal connection their way over there? If so, it's a little embarrassing that they sat front row to simply support but not donate, which is pretty on brand for our dear grifters. They don't ever give, but simply take. Getting called out by Martha Stewart for gossiping about the royal family. In early August, Martha gave a cover interview to People magazine. She revealed that she and Meghan had recently been guests at the same California dinner party shortly after Meghan returned from the family's European trip/UK reunion. What she said triggered Meghan to have her publicist essentially call Martha a liar, so let's get into what happened. Martha said, "I had dinner with Meghan Markle the other night."
She wasn't my guest. I was a guest. We were both guests at a dinner party in California.
Nice way of saying I'd never invite her over for a dinner party. She clarified that they barely interacted, exchanging only a couple words, but then said that Meghan had just gotten back from the palace and that I know she was talking about it.
She had just gotten back from the palace, and I think I didn't talk to her really more than to say a couple words, but I know she was talking about it.
Not Martha literally shading Meghan for not being able to keep anything private. Meghan was probably boasting about meeting with the literal king who happens to be her father-in-law, and knowing Meghan, she was probably using it to flaunt. Keep in mind that Martha is being directly quoted in this interview because she was doing a whole cover story for People magazine and recreating her iconic 1995 cover. She was then asked, "What do you think about her stepping into your space with her own cooking show?" To which she said,
"If you're an actress, it's hard to then transition to a princess, and then from a princess into a homemaking guru on a television show. It doesn't sort of follow. So go from there."
She didn't even try to hide the shade. She summarized what everyone has been feeling about Meghan's career post-royal life. Meghan, of course, was quick to respond, telling the same outlet, People magazine, that Martha's account of the dinner party was simply untrue. This source, who is apparently not Meghan, but rather another Meghan warrior who conveniently sat next to Meghan at the dinner party and is now talking to People magazine, said, "This account of what happened is simply untrue. Meghan didn't talk about her European vacation other than to say that the family had a great time." If you're gonna call Martha a liar, get on camera and say it on Instagram the way Martha said it directly and not using a source to play this PR game. This source, who is not Meghan, continues, "Meghan has always been a fan of Martha's and enjoyed getting to meet her briefly at the dinner." This whole thing is hilarious because Meghan got exposed for using the ultra-private meeting with Charles and Camilla as a topic at a dinner party, and it's more scandalous when you realize that this was their first official meeting in years after all the BS that Harry and Meghan did. You know, Spare, Netflix, Oprah, all the shenanigans. And when the meeting happened, it was agreed upon that it was going to be super private and no photos or details would be published. But as I said in my last Meghan and Harry video, People magazine had the scoop as to how Meghan felt and how she lets Harry lead when it comes to his family. So who exactly is telling People magazine all of this if it's not the same person rambling at a dinner party? And what's funny about Martha is that she always doubles down on her stance and stands on business. Martha had already been skeptical about Meghan's credibility in the lifestyle space. In July 2025, she said that she hoped Meghan knows what she's talking about and stressed that, for her, authenticity and actually knowing your subject are extremely important. In September 2024, Martha told Us Weekly that authenticity matters a lot. Does Meghan Markle really design her products? Has she used those products? Can she speak nicely about her own products? That's all she has to do to be successful. And she's extremely well known, extremely famous, and I'm anxious to see what she comes up with. And maybe if some of these very valid concerns had actually been taken into account, As Ever and With Love Meghan wouldn't have struggled as much as they have. As Ever has already seen the initial hype and website traffic decline, while With Love Meghan was cancelled after 2 seasons. And even calling them 2 seasons is generous, considering both were reportedly filmed at the same time and essentially split into 2 parts. So Martha's whole point about authenticity, actually knowing your product, and being able to convincingly sell yourself as an expert in this space suddenly feels a lot less like shade and a lot more like advice Meghan probably should have taken. Old habits die hard. Daily Mail's Sarah Vine wrote an article in honor of Harry and Meghan's 10-year anniversary because they started dating 10 years ago, and it really encapsulates how it all went downhill and how Harry and Meghan had it all but lost it all. I'll link it down below if you'd like to check it out because I'm only going to talk about the 2 new things she mentioned, but if you want a whole deep dive on this, be sure to check out my video, The Problem with Meghan Markle, that essentially covers the same thing. So Sarah Vine starts with a story that allegedly happened before Meghan ever met Harry back in April 2015 when Soho House opened its location in Istanbul. One of Sarah's friends was invited to this huge opening weekend alongside celebrities like Eddie Redmayne, Jamie Dornan, and a bunch of other famous faces. Everything was free: lavish lunches, boat trips, accommodations at this beautiful 5-star hotel, the whole thing. And apparently, at one point, her friend was standing in the lobby when he saw this pretty American woman walk up to the front desk and start berating the staff over an issue with her room. He couldn't hear exactly what the problem was, but according to him, it seemed to have something to do with her goodie bag not being lavish enough. And I need you guys to remember, this was a free goodie bag during a free luxury weekend at a 5-star hotel. Sarah says her friend remembers thinking, wow, it takes quite some chutzpah to complain about a free gift at a free weekend in a 5-star hotel full of A-listers. But the funniest part is that he apparently had absolutely no idea who this woman was. Nobody in his group did. It wasn't until a year later, when Prince Harry's new girlfriend started appearing in the press, that he saw Meghan's picture and immediately recognized her as the woman he remembered from the Soho House lobby. And Sarah says the story has always stuck with her because she thinks it almost foreshadowed everything that eventually happened with Meghan and the royal family. In her words, she was treated with generosity and kindness, offered all the trappings and the status, but somehow none of it was ever quite enough. At the end of the article, she recalls a story told to her by a friend with contacts in the royal household. This was about a day that Meghan was interviewing her staff. A young woman in her early 20s was brought in to meet her. Sarah describes her as a nervous sloane, which is basically British slang for a young, posh, upper-class woman. Meghan was sitting at her desk reading some papers. For what seemed like an eternity, she kept her eyes down, ignoring the girl completely. Then she glanced up, examined her, then went back to her work. "You can leave," she said, and that was that. This story really gives us an inside look as to how Meghan acted high and mighty, especially around staff. Making someone stand there while you deliberately refuse to acknowledge them creates an immediate hierarchy. My time matters, yours doesn't, and you're waiting for me to decide whether you're even worth addressing. Psychologically, behaviors like that can function as status displays or intimidation tactics, because the uncertainty makes the other person increasingly uncomfortable while the person withholding attention controls the entire interaction. And this is all on par with what has been exposed about Meghan. She tells another story. About a year before their wedding, Sarah attended an event at the palace for a documentary William and Harry had commissioned for the 20th anniversary of Princess Diana's death. She remembers William being charming and patient with the press, while Harry seemed short-tempered and distracted, as if the whole thing was just a massive annoyance. But she says the second Harry started talking about Diana, his entire demeanor changed. He became gentle, sad, and incredibly vulnerable. And Sarah remembers thinking, this poor boy has never got over losing his mother. She also left the event believing that Harry was carrying a lot of resentment toward Charles. Later on, she details how tone-deaf Meghan and Harry went about things, especially with what they were doing during Prince Philip's last days, before and after the Queen's funeral, Charles and Catherine's cancer diagnosis, and so much more. She writes, for two people who claim to be so in tune with their feelings and those of others, time and again they have demonstrated a complete lack of emotional intelligence combined with weapons-grade sense of entitlement. And I think that Harry and Meghan finally met their match, Hollywood. Because in Hollywood, they're surrounded by actual A-listers who have spent decades earning their place and creating things people remember. So when those same people start snubbing or exposing them, it really brings everything full circle, because this time, there's no royal family left to blame. No amount of using the kids to humanize you.
What makes you feel bright?
My daughter. Every day when I feel a little bit like, oh gosh, can I do this? I go, Lily would do it.
Will distract from the bad energy people get from Meghan and the outright fakeness. Lily will do it? Do what? Make jam that no one's buying? Post the kids at Diana's final resting place? Speaking of that, I hope you guys realize that no one even knew Harry and Meghan were staying with his uncle Earl Spencer at Altrip until Meghan posted Harry and the kids carrying flowers, seemingly on their way to visit Diana's grave. It's little things like this and her behavior that probably have everyone running away from her after initially helping her. And with that, I'll leave you for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for new videos every single week. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Follow us on our social media. And as ever, I'll see you next time.